The battle for Congress, it is going to be probably the biggest political story this year. And one of the big things that will indicate which way the elections go is enthusiasm. Will Republican voters be more enthusiastic than Democratic voters? Take a look at these brand new numbers from CNN, the Opinion Research Corporation. This is a national survey, and you can see it suggests that about almost half of Republicans, 49% of the ones we questioned, say they're very enthusiastic or extremely enthusiastic about voting this year. And that is up. That's up about 6 points from when we asked in November. The flip side is the Democrats. You can see only 31%, just over 3 in 10 Democrats say they're enthusiastic about voting. That's down 11 points from November. That's the headline. Let me bring in our polling director, Keating, Holland, for a lot more on this poll. And let's start with enthusiasm.
Yeah, this enthusiasm gap is very interesting because it's exactly the reverse of what we were seeing in 2008. In the 2008 election, Democrats were enthusiastic, and it showed in their turnout. That's one of the things that put Barack Obama in the White House. Now Democrats are disaffected. Looks like their turnout could be very low, long time until the midterm election actually happens in November. But if it were held today, it looks like turnout would benefit the Republicans substantially. And that's bad news for the Democrats. That certainly gives the Republicans the opportunity to pick up a lot of seats in the House, maybe not take control of the House or the Senate, but certainly do some big damage to the Democrats' majority on the Capitol Hill.
And that is the big question. And right now the Democrats have a 20-seat advantage in the Senate. They've got that 60-seat supermajority as of right now. Yeah. In the House, they're ahead, I believe it's 257 to 178. So the Republicans need to pick up 40 seats come November to take control of the House. Take a look at these numbers. This is the so-called generic ballot, and basically it asks, would you vote for a Republican or Democrat in your district? Right now, 48% say Republican, 45% say Democrat. That's within the sampling error. But it's also a change from November when the Democrats were up by 6 points in that generic ballot. Keating, what's happened here? And also explain a little bit more about the generic ballot. You don't give a candidate's name or anything like that.
Yeah, that's why we call it a generic ballot, because we don't say, are you going to vote for Smith, the Democrat, or Jones, the Republican? We just say, are you going to vote for the Democrat or the Republican? So there's no names of candidates there. That means that there's a lot of white noise in the generic ballot, in addition to the fact that we've got 435 separate races all around the country. So this is an imperfect measurement of what might happen in November, but it is telling. It does give you some patterns, and the pattern, once again, looks like the Democrats have kind of the down arrow, the Republicans have the up arrow. We'll see if that holds. I mean, this is a question that we ask, if the election were held today, who would you vote for? The election is not being held today. Yeah. It's still 10 months away. 10
months away. Getting closer, but still a lot can happen between now and November. On that generic ballot question, you did break it down, too, by districts that were either competitive or districts that were dominated by Democrats or Republicans. On those competitive districts, and really that's the most important stuff, what'd you find?
Yeah, the 3-point deficit that the Democrats have overall is kind of masking the problems that they may have in swing districts, competitive districts, come November, because there's an awful lot of districts, maybe 30-40% of the public lives in a congressional district where the Democrat is probably safe and he's going to win, and he or she is going to win. So they pull up big margins on the generic ballot in these safe Democratic districts. And, of course, the Republicans pull up big margins in the safe Republican districts. But there's districts where the incumbent won with 55% of the vote or less in 2008. Those are the ones that generally get lumped into the category of competitive or possibly competitive or swing districts. And the Democrats are doing extremely badly in those swing districts right now. I mean, they're facing a double-digit deficit. I think it's 27 points. 59% of the voters registered voters in those competitive districts say they'll vote for the Republican right now. Only 32% say they'll vote for the Democrat in those swing districts right now. So that's got to be good news for the Republicans, and certainly indicates that they may be able to pick up a lot of those swing districts, a lot of those competitive districts, if these trends continue, if they can find attractive, qualified candidates in those districts, if they can do fundraising, if they can get their turnout, et cetera, et cetera. But it looks right now like a lot of those competitive districts may go to the Republicans. That may not get them all the way to the 40 that you mentioned earlier that would give them control of the House, but it certainly gets them a fair ways down that road.
Finally, quickly, we keep saying, and everybody keeps saying, this is a bad year for incumbents because of the economy, 2 wars, What does the poll say about incumbents versus challengers?
Yeah, Americans don't like incumbents, and the dislike of incumbents is pretty much where it was in 1994, which was the last year that the Democrats lost control of the House and the Senate, as you'll recall. Americans say they would rather vote for a challenger than an incumbent. That's very similar to what we saw in 1994. They believe that incumbents are less honest and trustworthy than challengers, and they believe that challengers will represent the opinions of people like themselves. So if you're a challenger this year, you probably have a leg up on the competition. The thing is that kind of sentiment may hurt Democratic incumbents and Republican incumbents, but the thing is there's more Democratic incumbents, so obviously it would marginally affect the Democrats a little bit.
Less than 10 months to go to the election. We're going to be keeping a close eye on the battle for Congress. Keating, Holland, CNN's polling director, and I'm Paul Steinhauser, CNN's deputy political director in Washington.